Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by...
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello.
Andy
This is strange, isn't it?
It's very strange. As I was saying just now, I just said some words out loud that I don't think I've ever actually uttered in my life. I've only ever listened to them coming from the mouth of Mr. Luke Condor with a K, who isn't on today's episode. Can you believe it?
These are unprecedented times, Ben. This is what an unusual. What's an unusual feeling, isn't it? We should probably confirm that Luke is alive and well. He's just busy this evening, right?
Yeah, that's true. He's just busy, and usually we kind of think, oh, let's delay it. Let's leave it a week if someone's busy. But we were both free, so we thought, why not? Let's persevere. Let's give everybody the podcast content that they want, the weekly podcast content they want, and we'll respect Luke's choices in this troubling time for everybody.
Yeah, and we've already spoken about this ourselves. We've been very clear that this isn't a very niche reference I'm about to make here. It's not like a working girl situation. Luke isn't like Sigourney Weaver, who's broken his leg, and then I, Melanie Griffith, haven't just come in to steal his job and career. I'm just...
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not the new Luke Condor with a K. I wouldn't dream of it.
It's not like that at all. But it is strange because this is the first time Luke hasn't appeared on the podcast, and of 150 plus episodes, me and Luke have never missed an episode. I mean, it would be weird if one of me and Luke missed a podcast and it was just the other co-host doing it solo. That would be odd. But obviously, you've been on plenty of episodes of Horror Hangout now, so you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're you know the drill. You can swoop in and be a hero. Be the hero that everybody deserves.
Or at least needs right now.
Yeah, so how are you though? You good?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you.
Keen to talk about a classic today, a movie that I can't believe we haven't discussed before, and also can't believe it was never on the top 50 list of when we originally started this podcast. I guess because it kind of fits into a few genres.
Yeah, for me, and we'll come to it. It feels like this is a film that people kind of forget is good, and forget is a thing maybe. But we'll come to it, I'm sure.
We will. We'll discuss it in great length, at great detail. But first, let's talk about some horror news. A couple of things. I think this actually got announced only a few hours ago, on the day of recording. So, Scream 5, Kevin Williamson shares the title treatment and reveals that Scream is officially called Scream 5. Sorry, that sounds confusing how I've listed that. It's just called Scream. In a similar way that the Halloween reboots and sequels have just been called Halloween, this is just called Scream. Confusing, potentially. How do you feel about that?
I think I'm fine with it. It gives me questions as to...
Yeah.
Does it have any relation to the others, or...
Well, it's like the same cast, isn't it? It's got Neve Campbell, it's got Courtney Cox. I think everybody who is alive by the end of Scream 4, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it means nothing narratively, and it is just just what they call it now, because numbers are no good. Who knows?
I don't know. Like the fact Scream 5, I was feeling hyped for it to be called Scream 5, and I did feel a bit disappointed when I thought it was going to be called Scream. And the title treatment is just kind of the same, essentially. There was a fan-made poster going around, which I saw, which was, I don't know if you saw it, it was like the big ghost face made to look like a tunnel, and a car was sort of driving through it.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that. Sounds good, though.
Yeah, it's been shared a lot as like the official poster, but it is fan-made. And I don't know, something about that and the fact it was called Scream 5, I was a bit like, yeah, I feel good about this.
Maybe they're saying just Scream, but then the Scream, the S will be a 5. They've got us.
Oh, Jesus. That would be... That hasn't happened for a while, has it? We haven't had a number in a...
It'll be Fan 4 Stick all over again.
Or 13 Ghosts.
113 Ghosts.
313 Ghosts. Fan 4 Stick. Wow. I heard somebody made a reference. They said maybe Scream is the name of the remake film version of Stab in this. Super meta, if that's the case. there's a film in Scream called Scream, and it's actually the original script. I mean, that would be nuts.
I don't know, but if a franchise is going to do it, it's going to be Scream.
Yeah, that's true. Did Wes Craven direct all of them?
All of them, yeah.
1 to 4?
Yeah.
I haven't seen 4 for quite a long time. I tend to, when I revisit Scream... What was that?
I think I've only seen it the once at the cinema, maybe.
When I revisit Scream, I tend to just watch 1 to 3, which is strange, really. I wonder why I avoid number 4. Maybe I've not got too good memories about it. Okay. Next up, Stone Village Television turning Mary Shelley's Frankenstein into a premium TV series. Not just any TV series, Andy. A premium TV series.
Say premium, it means what they expect you to pay for.
Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? So it's Stone Village, partner with international producer Black Box Media, being written by Bradley McManus, who wrote Bodyguard of Lies. That doesn't sound like anything
that we've heard of.
It'll be set in Europe, focused on the behaviors and obsessions of a scientist exploring the fine thread between life and death, all set against the context of a year in which dependence on scientific breakthroughs has been paramount. So does that mean set against a backdrop of modern times?
Could do. Are they talking about, when they say that, are they talking about in the context of this year with scientific developments? I was too busy being jarred by the fact it said, set in Europe. Because my immediate thought was, like the story of Frankenstein is.
Yeah.
That's not really
Yeah, but what part of Europe? Well, it's all one big mass, isn't it? One big land mass. And Frankenstein just be chilling in Europe. I'm heading to Europe for my...
it's to the Arctic for a bit as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. But there, that's all we get. I thought we were going to get more information than that when I clicked on this link, but apparently not. Interesting, I guess. But were we going to get a movie, a new Frankenstein movie? Because obviously we're getting a new Wolfman, and we've had Invisible Man recently.
I guess that's a series, but it's not Dark Universe adjacent, is it? No.
Thinking, yeah. What was supposed to be the Dark Universe Frankenstein? Which big actor was attached to that?
Well, I don't know who was Frankenstein. Angelina Jolie was Bride of Frankenstein, but I don't know who.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know who the others.
Was Johnny Depp supposed to be the Invisible Man, right?
Yeah, he was going to be the Invisible Man.
I can't believe they did a photo shoot for this. This is what's so embarrassing about it, is that they did a photo shoot, which was like in a magazine, wasn't it, with all of them in dark suits posing. We are the Dark Universe. Jesus.
You can see why it's appealing. I imagine if you're a producer, you're one of the money men, you see the money that effectively it's MCU and Fast and the Furious, which has pulled it off, right? Having this like connected universe of stories. You see how successful and lucrative it can be, and you want to do it, but in ways, and not to enrage the internet here, but some would argue that the way that, for example, the Dark Universe and maybe by extension DC Comics film universe did, if you try and rush it, it can go incredibly wrong, right?
Yeah, definitely. So there's rushing it, but there's also the way fans the fan backlash that you can get from pretty much anything now, not just a movie being released, but sometimes just a trailer. Obviously, talking Sonic the Hedgehog here. The fan backlash seems to have a hell of a lot of power and swing as to whether a franchise has any legs at all.
Yeah, and can fundamentally change that movie, because like Sonic went through masses of changes. As we've mentioned it now, I want to say this on record. Bearing in mind it's made by the same producers. As Fast and the Furious gets more ridiculous and it's made by some of the same people that make Sonic, you should just put him in it. You would go if it was Hobbs and Shaw with Sonic in Fast and the Furious 10, all about La Familia. What a time! If Dr. Robotnik is the big baddie at the end of Fast and the Furious,
I'm not against that at all. Because are we going to space yet with Fast and the Furious?
They have to do it before the end. It has to happen.
Yeah. So the next logical step after space is like parallel universes, right? And different.
Yeah.
So get Sonic in. Let's just mess things up.
Yeah. What a time. But
what a time to be alive. Okay.
Frankenstein. I don't know. Or the Dark Universe. Who knows? Or dares to dream.
Okay, so I've got some news about Fright Night. Apparently, Tom Holland, not that one, the writer-director of Fright Night, um, was working on a sequel that was going to take place as a novel rather than a feature film. Apparently, the project is now titled Fright Night 2: Resurrection. So obviously, I guess he's going to veto the events of Fright Night 2, the movie. And apparently, all the classic characters are back. Charlie, Evil Ed. He's bringing back everyone he can.
Jerry the vampire.
I don't know about Jerry, but yeah, there we go. That's pretty exciting. Interesting to see that in a different form rather than a film or rather than a direct to DVD something, direct to VOD, a novel. Very interesting.
The thing is, Tom Holland's got his head screwed on. If this gets, in many ways, he could win big here, because if he produces a novel free of restrictions of budgets and all that other stuff and finding the right actors, and the film crowd go to the novel, then that will in itself create demand to make that into a film, right?
Well, here it says he's going to resurrect Billy Cole and Jerry Dandridge. So yeah, all bets are off. Let's resurrect everyone and everything.
Yeah, son.
Yeah, for a second when I read that headline, Tom Holland gives updates on Fright Night 2 Resurrection. For a second, I was like, did I imagine the sequel that I only watched a few?
Yeah, but it did. It did happen.
Did I dream it?
Yes, it's not that bad either, is it?
No, I really liked it. I can't remember what I said when we discussed it, when we discussed the original, and then I think I watched the second after that. But on a par, maybe even slightly better. There was something about it. I still listen to the soundtrack like pretty regularly. Okay, a bit of news, a little bit extra special, something for us, Andy, is Resident Evil Village. The fact, do you know what? I've completely forgotten. We haven't even mentioned at any point on the podcast we've mentioned the Resident Evil movie reboot, but have you seen the set photos?
No.
Man, oh man, oh man! Every set photo that I've seen so far looks amazing. So I'm gonna drop. I'll send you. I'll drop this in the chat actually, because you're gonna want to see this. Actually, I don't know how to do that.
I've got them up here. Little RPD.
Okay, so there's one outside the RPD. There's one of like a helicopter. And is there one of the mansion as well? Basically, it all looks badass. And I think some of the actors, the actor who plays Leon S. Kennedy, has done like a little live stream on Instagram or something where he's talking about the character. And I think we see his like RPD uniform and that. It looks like it's going to be very, very reminiscent of the games. Pretty much exactly the same in terms of visuals. Which I think is the dream.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things as well. Like with so many like video game adaptations, there is, for whatever reason, be it studios thinking they know what's going to sell, or directors who really want to put their own stamp on something creatively versus what the game directors have given them. And maybe that's what leads to some problems sometimes, because these things have huge audiences that are very much into the aesthetics and the characters and all the things that have been presented in video games, right? In the original context of them. And I totally get it. You know, let's be a brief apologist for things like the old Super Mario movie. Like at the time, games were not written with that type of story or level of engagement to it. Effectively, a story was an arbitrary thing to put on your first page of your manual, and and to give some type of narrative behind what was very at its heart simple mechanics that you're working through. But now games invest very heavily in character design and writing and all that other stuff as well, that you don't need to completely reinvent the wheel to have something very successful off the back of it. Like, I'm going to go out there, and I didn't get through all of the Assassin's Creed movie. I tried to watch it, but gave up. You could have got away with a much straighter adaptation of the events of one of the games, because someone spent a lot of time writing that.
Yeah, but saying that, I'm very excited to see something much, much closer to the games than obviously we got 7 movies of.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of seasoned a little bit with the flavor of Resident Evil rather than
Couple of the
being...
set pieces, couple of like recognizable characters, right? And I think I've seen all but the last one, and there's parts of them that are enjoyable.
The Resident Evil franchise, I could probably talk about for hours on end, but one thing I will say is that I always convince myself that they're better than they are, and when I revisit them, I get frustrated and disappointed all over again. The first one is pretty solid as a film, not necessarily as a Resident Evil adaptation, but all of the others I've got a lot of problems with. And I did see the final chapter, and I saw it in cinemas, and yeah, I wasn't best pleased with that. But yeah, very excited to see what they're going to do with this, and the fact that there's going to be a Netflix show as well. It'd be cool if the Netflix show kind of was set in the same universe, which I guess it will be. You get a movie.
I think it is, isn't it? I think the movie and the Netflix show are the same. I'm not sure if it's openly said, but they're doing the same thing, right? So
cool if they were like going alongside each other. The events of the movie and the events of the TV show are going alongside each other. Maybe even some level of crossover. That could be cool.
Yeah, but I'm here for it.
Glad.
However it turns out, I know I'm going to watch it.
Exactly. And what I was going to mention before that was that there is some more Resident Evil Village footage, and there's a potential plot twist. I'm not going to discuss that. But I don't know if you saw, there was some footage with sort of various celebrities playing the PS5 for the first time, and there was a woman who I don't actually recognize. I think she might be an actress. I'm not sure, but she was playing PS5, and she was playing. There was like more footage of Resident Evil Village. So basically, what we've seen in the trailers, that sort of area, but her sort of running around and doing various things. That, I mean, it does look very interesting. Very obviously very Resident Evil 7. But there's a potential plot twist regarding Chris Redfield, which is very, very interesting, which I'm not going to mention because maybe you don't want to know.
Maybe spoilers.
It sort of popped up on Twitter this week, and I was like, that could potentially be... That could explain a few things.
They're definitely up to something, aren't they? It's never not going to be as straightforward as we all think. But
no.
I'm looking forward to finding out. And we won't dwell on this, but I know there's been a big like data leak at Capcom, right? And there's talk of as part of that leak, all sorts of other stuff, all sorts of bits of financials, like how much Google are paying them to have it appear on the Stadia and so on. But I think one of the big things about it that we can probably take as fairly given is there is good talk of there being a demo in the same way there was for Resident Evil 7.
Wow.
So not too far in advance of it coming out. I think maybe 6 weeks before the game launches, we might be getting
a huge financials leak, and we're like, no, interested in that. Where's the demo? Yeah, we got a demo. Woo.
Yeah,
that'd be good. That would be good, because demos are something that's kind of nearly a dead thing right now, isn't it? You're very rare you get a demo for anything. It
tends to be like pre-order bonuses now, isn't it? So like back in the day, you would get the demo, so you would go and buy, to entice you to go and buy the game. Now, I think notable examples aside from Resident Evil and maybe the recent Tony Hawk's HD remake. It's like you can get this bit, you can get this early if you've already pre-ordered it. So you're kind of banking on people already wanting to play it, and just your demo is a taste they get early rather than something to entice you to buy it.
I've kind of enjoyed downloading the FIFA demo every year rather than buy the game. Just download the demo, play that till I get bored. But this year, I think it was the first year ever, definitely the first year ever on PS4, but I wasn't a demo for it, and I was like, what? Fuming. Utterly fuming. There we go. That's all I got for horror news this week. Have you seen anything of note this week?
Apart from today's film, no. I've been, I guess, after all the excitement of Halloween and the movies around that, I've had a little bit of a break. I've watched a couple of completely unconnected series. We went through The Boys, which was great, both seasons of that, and then we just finished before coming to sit down to record with you tonight, Ben. We thought we'd have something a bit light and breezy, so we watched Schitt's Creek on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Very,
I've not
very
actually
funny.
not seen that, but I've heard good things about it.
Very funny and very, very heartwarming at parts as well. Maybe a couple of tears in that last season. It's been an
Oh.
emotional couple of days, Ben.
Well, it's good to get those emotions out sometimes, you know. Good to have a cleanse, you know. Happens every now and again. I've not really watched much either. It's been one of those weeks. Me and my daughter went through the Jurassic Park trilogy just because. I think it was a rainy Saturday. You didn't have much going on. It was too wet and miserable outside to really do much. We're in the middle of a lockdown. What we're going to do, we're going to go through the original Jurassic Park trilogy. And, yeah, I mean, always good times. I have a good time with all of the movies. The first one is my favorite film ever. The second one,
same.
I like a hell of a lot more than some people do. I'll never get bored of that. And the third one, as I mentioned on Twitter, it's got a velociraptor saying, Alan, I think you just need to stop there and go, don't make any more of these films because we've hit the peak of what they're ever going to be.
You've hit the peak of cinema. And Jurassic Park films, even the ones, even the last one, which got mixed reviews from people, I think Jurassic Park to me is a lot like pizza. Like, at its best, it is the best you're ever going to get, right? But even not great Jurassic Park is still a lot better than the best of lots of other things. You know what I mean?
I think it's just dinos, man. It's just dinosaurs. I think ever since I was a kid, dinosaurs in anything improve it. You know, I always liked, in my favorite things, when there was a dinosaur, I'd be like, you remember when X-Men ended up going to
Savage Land?
Yeah, Savage Land. That was like some of my favorite stuff ever. It was like as soon as dinosaurs were added to something I loved, you know, in the X-Men comics, in the animated series, as soon as that turned up, I was like, right, I'm invested.
You used to have a ton of Dino Riders toys as well.
Dino Riders, dude! I can't believe I've heard somebody say Dino Riders twice this week. My mum said it the other day. She goes, "Remember that Dino Riders video you used to have?" And I went, "Yeah, I do."
I used to have that video.
Oh man!
Just the first. I guess the series didn't get a full run. It must have been the pilot, right? But it was great. Yeah.
Oh, great! I don't think I definitely didn't have toys. Was your videotape red?
I had like a red case, I think, and then a picture of Krulos on the T-Rex. He was riding on the front there. I don't remember any of the goodies' names.
I need to rewatch this stuff.
I had a ton of the toys. I had the T-Rex and the Diplodocus. Never had the Stegosaurus. It was a disappointment, but
I didn't have the toys. I mean, I had some Jurassic Park toys. Maybe that was as
Did you have the JP logo? Look for that JP logo.
Yep.
Not JP, not Jurassic Park.
Yeah. There was like a dinosaurs magazine as well, where you collected the tiny little bone fragments.
The skeletons, used to be into that. Dinosaurs were the place to be when we were kids.
I don't think it's ever died. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever fully stopped being super into dinosaurs.
Yeah. And despite the start of the film, if they opened a Jurassic Park, I'd go.
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, in the first movie. In the first movie, they say we're not just going to cater to the super rich, and Gennaro says we could charge anything we want. We could charge 10 grand a day, 2 grand, like as much as we want. People will pay it, and I'm like, I think I would, out of everything I'd ever want to pay to do, I'd be very happy to save and go and do that, even if I knew I was maybe going to die. Because what a way to go! How did he die? Oh, he got trod on by a.
Imagine that on your gravestone. You know. You walking around the graveyard, like, here's Joe Blogg's beloved father, here's Joe Soap, told you he was ill, here's Ben Errington, eaten by a dinosaur.
I bet I'd be eaten by the compies. I bet that's what would happen to me. You
gotta watch them, don't underestimate.
I'm now looking at Dino Riders VHS on eBay and the Dinosaurs magazine collection with binders, 50 quid on eBay.
We don't live too far away from each other now, Ben. We can go halves in it. Like Radioactive Man comic.
Oh man.
This is tune in for Ben and I's new podcast coming up soon. Talking dinosaurs with
Talking dinosaurs every week. We talk about a different dinosaur every week and whether we reckon it would beat the dinosaur from the week before. That's pretty much it.
I mean,
I'll tell you what. Yeah. I did watch something else. So I watched Friday the 13th Part 2. I said I was going to watch some of the sequels. And this is the one with Sackhead Jason Voorhees. I think...
Original recipe Jason.
Original recipe Jason.
What do you think?
One thing I noticed from this one, he's not superhuman at all in this film. In fact, he's pretty damn clumsy. He's falling over, he gets pushed over, he's slipping on his ass quite regularly. He doesn't seem extra strong. Like, there's a few times where he gets sort of overpowered. I guess this is before Jason had made his full transition to...
Yeah, he's not mega yet.
Hockey mask mega Jason. No, he's not. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Most of the... Again, it's a pretty basic plot, I guess. Just a different camp. Different annoying kids. I'll say annoying kids. Definitely some of them look about 45. Some fun kills. I don't think it kind of like adds much to the legacy of Jason Voorhees at this stage. But I think it's got some cool stuff, like the Pamela Voorhees bits and the fact that he's got, again, not trying to spoil it, even though it's a 40-year-old film, but there's some good little shocking parts as well. I liked it. I did like it. Yeah.
I want that box set as well. I'm really tempted to get it.
Oh man, I've seen so many people posting that box set. It's like everybody in the horror fan community bought that.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming. So it's Friday the 13th Part 3 when we see Jason in the hockey mask.
I think he gets a hockey mask in 3, and we get the really good 3D stuff in that one as well.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. But that is pretty much it for me in terms of what I've been watching, unless you got anything else.
No. It was all about this week's film, right?
So, this week we're going to talk about Sleepy Hollow. So, Sleepy Hollow is a 1999 American Gothic supernatural horror film directed by Tim Burton. Is a film adaptation loosely based on Washington Irving's 1820 short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Stars Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci. Do you say Ricci?
Ricci.
Ricci.
I'm sure I've said it out loud ever.
I've heard people say Ricky before, and I'm not into that. Miranda Richardson, Michael Gambon, Jeffrey Jones. The plot follows police constable Ichabod Crane, sent from New York City to investigate a series of murders in the village of Sleepy Hollow by a mysterious Headless Horseman. Very nice. Okay, so IMDb has got 7.3. It's pretty high. Rotten Tomatoes, 69% critics, 80% audience. Letterboxd, 3.4. Couple of choice reviews from Letterboxd. Silent J says, Christopher Walken has literally 3 lines in this film. Number 1, nah! Number 2, wah! And who could forget, rah!
Hang on, Silent J. I think you'll find he also says, shh, at one point.
He does, Mr. Out. Maria says, I relate to Johnny Depp's character in this because I too am a dramatic little bitch. And then Travis Little has got a bit more of a in-depth review. He says, a richly designed, pervasively atmospheric, and thanks to its leading man, somewhat whimsical horror film, Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow is a blustery, gory, and entertaining piece of work. With its superbly rendered and shot sets and landscapes, the film is a fine-looking chiller with an overarching sense of delightful wickedness. Which I think is a pretty spot on.
It's spot on. Yes, spot on description.
What is your relationship to this movie? I'm guessing you've seen it before.
I have. I saw it at the cinema, as I recall. Way back. Yeah, I think I saw it at the pictures. And then I don't think I've seen it many times since. I may have, fell into it when it was on TV halfway as you flick the TV on over the years. But I don't think I've engaged with it that much. I think, like we were saying before we started, like it's goes under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. Now you said you've seen it at the cinema. I'm trying to remember if I did or not, and part of me kind of thinks maybe I did, but I don't know because in '99 I was 13. So
I'm a bit older, so I would have been 99, depending on the time of year. I'd have been 15, 16, so I'd have been prime real estate for this. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I don't think I did, but I've seen it a lot since then. It's kind of like one of a family favorite. Like my sister and my mum are really into it, and they watch it a lot. So I've seen it like a lot loads of times. But when I watched it this time, I think a long enough amount of time has passed that I couldn't quite remember certain plot points. So a few reveals were like, oh yeah, of course. So it was quite nice to watch it
for you. Yeah.
and not know exactly where it was going. But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite Tim Burton films. Obviously, I like most of them.
Yeah.
But
I
this is
think as well,
definitely one of my favorites.
This is kind of perhaps this has aged better than some of the others have as well, because it's already a period piece. It's not meant to be contemporary at the time it comes out, right? So it's meant to be set in the days of yore. So it's, apart from one or two of the effects, and they're notable. You know what? Go about it. It's whenever anyone's eyes pop out. It's very Roger Rabbit. But apart from that, like, it's
What's
actually
weird, though,
held up really well.
the CGI kind of looks good until those eye popping out moments. That is when it kind of looks a bit naff, and I feel like, why was that kind of added? But I guess
because you could have cut that out and it wouldn't have made any difference, because, well, we'll come to the two bits. There's just a couple of bits where it's boggling that they ever would include them, like the eye popping bits.
But from like the soundtrack, from the performances, especially, I mean, Johnny Depp's great, but especially Christopher Walken, Christina Ricci's great as well. But the supporting cast, there's so many faces that you're going to recognize from major franchises.
I've got a list of these bad boys when we get to the meet. I think
somebody did. So my girlfriend said everyone in this film's in Harry Potter, and I don't know. I've never actually seen a Harry Potter film, so I'm not sure. But how many are we saying?
I recognize one from Harry Potter, but like, I went through, so we'll get to it. So for me, I've written here in my notes. So the first person he meets in the town before he gets a kiss from Christina Ricci is Johnny Rico himself.
What, from Starship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he meets the council, and the council of Sleepy Hollow are Dumbledore, Emperor Palpatine, Henry Crabbe from Pie in the Sky, the dad from Beetlejuice, and Alfred Pennyworth.
Yeah, Alfred is like unrecognizable, man. I was, for ages, I was like, who is that? Who is that? I know who that is, but and then I think, like Charlie said, that's someone from Harry Potter. I was like, it's not. It's someone else. Who is it? And then when the penny dropped, couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. But yeah, what a cast. The fact that we've got Palpatine as well is awesome.
Johnny Depp gets sent there by Dracula himself. Christopher Lee is in this movie for 5 minutes. Less than.
Jesus, man. This is up there. The fact that we've got someone like Christopher Walken in it who doesn't really doesn't really speak. It's insane. This isn't actually in the trivia, so don't worry. But do you know who does his body as well, like his headless body?
No idea.
I'm going to give you a hint. Keep thinking Star Wars. Think of someone who's probably well known for being physical rather than an actual actor.
Okay, so I think for the maybe is it the guy that plays Darth Maul? He's very acrobatic.
Correct. Ray Park.
Yeah.
Ray Park. I was gonna give you another hint, which was gonna be what happens to a toad when he gets struck by lightning. But this is the thing. Like, they've got, it's like top of the range. Absolutely everybody. Minor parts. The young kid actor is really good as well. But like, everything just seems to just work, and it is probably like the best like gothic horror. I mean, I really like it's like Sweeney Todd's great as well, but this kind of like captures the Tim Burton gothic horror better than anything he's ever done for me.
Did you guys cover this when you were chatting with Alice about, films to introduce younger kids to horror? Like,
I don't know if we did actually.
Where would you put this in? Do you think your daughter would take to this, or would it be too much?
No, I think it'd be too much. There's a lot of severed heads. There's a lot of blood. There's actually a tree full of severed heads. I think that's just a little bit too much. I don't know. Next year, maybe, yeah. Something about this film, obviously, like, yeah, probably good for a younger audience, but there's always been something that's kind of got under my skin about it a little bit. I don't know if it's like the witchy stuff, Christopher Walken's teeth, his little filed down points teeth. But yeah, it's great, and so it was based on just a short story, not a book. I thought it was maybe a book, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Not something I've ever read.
I wasn't familiar with the book. I'm not sure I've ever read it. I'm sure it'd be quite easy to find, but I was familiar with the story from. It's on an old VHS cassette I have recorded from the TV when I was a kid. I'm not sure whether it was presented as a double bill when my parents recorded it for me, or just the way it had, sunk up when you recorded them. But there was a couple of animated short stories. There was this, so Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and there was the Phantom of the Opera as well. And they'd done animated versions of them, sort of these gothic stories, and it was great. I used to really like it, so I came to it knowing vaguely the story from that.
It looks like it's been adapted like quite a lot of times. There was a 1922 film. There is like a TV show from 2013.
There's a series, right? Like a sci-fi one.
Yeah, which I don't know if I just completely missed that, but it's set in modern day. Is that right? Am I correct?
Yeah, pretty sure it is.
I don't know much about it other than that. I'm assuming it's going to take place in Sleepy Hollow. And is there literally a Headless Horseman?
I've no idea, but Sleepy Hollow is like a borough of New York now somehow.
Oh, right. Okay.
But no, never watched it.
Well, yeah, it looks like it's been adapted absolutely loads. But yeah, so let's talk about the cast. So obviously we've got Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane. He's a quirky yet sympathetic constable, infatuated with modern science, bringing that into his police procedures, which obviously everybody else kind of says, "You're off your head, mate. What's wrong with you? Off your head."
Just torture people and get confessions. But
that's pretty much what they think. But you think that obviously was happening at a point.
Yeah.
As police procedures evolved, there would have been like just one guy probably going, we got to try and don't move the body. Don't move the body. Why not? He was huddled up. I laid him out. Got Christina Ricci as Katrina Van Tassel, yeah, who's like the daughter of the town's richest farmer. And then Miranda Richardson, who's the stepmom of Katrina and the wife of Baltus, who's played by Michael Gambon.
Dumbledore himself, yeah.
Dumbledore himself, and yes, obviously, Casper Van Dien is the dude from Starship Troopers, right?
He's like
basically
Christina
Gaston.
He's like Gaston / Christina Ricci's like fiance maybe or something like that.
He's 100% like Gaston, just like bit of a douche.
He's got the jaw for it as well, though. Who played Gaston in the live Beauty and the Beast? If it wasn't Casper Van Dien, they made a bad call.
No, it wasn't. It was Luke. Oh, what's his name? The dude who's in The Hobbit, Luke something. I think you know what I mean. The one who's like the like not the main character, but like the main human dude from.
I think I know you mean. You know what? That doesn't matter who he is because it's not Johnny Rico, the obvious choice for Gaston.
Luke Evans. There we go. Luke Evans.
Soz Luke.
Forgot everything about it. And then obviously the rest of the cast is just made up of like heavy hitters all over the place. Christopher Lee, Michael Gough, Ian McDermott, Richard Griffiths. That's Pie in the Sky dude, isn't it?
Henry Crabbe, yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously Christopher Walken, and even like minor roles are all sort of filled by people you kind of recognize. I recognize the mum from Outnumbered on the BBC. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was my best one. I was like, that is the mum from Outnumbered. It is.
What a roller coaster. But yeah, like where to begin story wise, I guess. Like I think we already covered it, right? So Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane is actually no, we have a cold open with a man riding on a carriage. The carriage driver is decapitated off camera. And then we see the person riding in the carriage like, I'd stay in there. I know the horse, I know no one's driving, but I just sit in there. someone's chopped my driver's head off and the horses are riding away. I'd wait. But he doesn't. He dives out into a cornfield, gets a little scare from a scarecrow, and then we see him graphically get his head chopped off. One big swipe, right?
One big swipe. And obviously the blade, one thing that we obviously do come to learn is that the blade cauterizes the wounds. So not that much blood. A nice singed neck. I mean, I love the main theme of this film, and I know it's very Danny Elfman, but it reminds me of. Have you ever been to Alton Towers?
Yeah, the Halloween Alton Towers. That when you used to spooky area.
Any spooky area, any spooky ride of Alton Towers, which has got like a little bit of lore attached to it, or a story that kind of plays while you're queuing up, like Hex or something. This reminds me of that. I was just
lovely bit of Danny Elfman music.
Yeah. So yeah, then we're obviously introduced. So it's the late 17th century, isn't it?
Yes, it was. It's 17 something. So they're just about to go into the 19th century.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it's about to hit 1800s.
So in New York City, police constable Ichabod Crane. We're introduced to him. What happens? He finds a body, doesn't he? Yeah.
He finds a body in the river, and his colleagues basically say, well, he's in the water, so he's drowned. And he said, well, no, that's not true, because he's been beat up first. So
yeah,
we should find this. We should investigate this. But his colleagues in the police are very much he's like an outlier in that people don't really believe his methods. He's kind of seen as insubordinate because he doesn't want to beat confessions out of people. And he's taken to, I'm not sure, is the hearing a court case that he's arguing about, or has just been brought up in front of like his boss, who's Christopher Lee?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think someone's complaining about his methods and that, I guess, because obviously he wants to cut the body open as well to see if the lungs are full of water, to see if did he drown or not. And it's almost like a punishment, but it's also like a chance to prove himself. So Christopher Lee basically says, look, there's been some murders in Sleepy Hollow, and there's been like decapitations where the heads have been lopped off. And does he say that the heads have been missing as well?
Cut clean off. He doesn't mention they're missing just yet.
Yeah. And he basically says, you go there and use your new methods of
it says that you're basically on trial here, so you go and show me that these work.
Detect, I think he says at one point as well. So he sends him to Sleepy Hollow, and as soon as he gets there, so he's got, let's talk about Johnny Depp for a second, because he's got this constant look on his face, which is like, I really don't want to be here. I shouldn't be here. But also, I might be sick. That's kind of the face he's got at any one time. He's almost like he's got his hand with a handkerchief constantly ready to cover his nose or something.
Yeah, he's an odd character in the fact that he is clearly quite comfortable with like autopsies and blood, and he doesn't believe in the supernatural or the unexplained, but he's very fainty. I guess it was the old days. Yeah, people in the old days fainted a lot more, didn't they? Because you could die of having a really stressful day in the 1800s.
I've had a stressful day at the office. Are you all right?
I've got a brain fever. I'm probably going to have to go and live at the seaside for like a year to get better. Or you might just go to bed and just wither away.
I feel like going to the seaside has stressed me out. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, it's expensive here.
It's expensive here, Jesus. Oh man, everything's just this B&B on the coast.
Walking with the chips, the seagulls might come and try and snatch it. Maybe worse.
You're on the beach, someone's dug a load of holes, you end up falling down one, breaking your leg. Oh God, this tide comes in. Oh Jesus.
Oh, yeah, well, we've got to watch the tides. Are they coming in? Are they going out? And can I take my dog on this beach at this time of year? Where's the park on the seafront? I can't.
Imagine that, but in the 1800s as well. Even worse.
That's why they die of it.
Yeah, but, and you couldn't even go to the beach and expect to see a little bit of skin because everyone would be covered pretty much from
you had there. More clothes at the beach in the 1800s.
Yeah.
More clothes than you'd wear in London.
Exactly. So yeah,
he goes a lot.
So talking about Ichabod Crane as well, is that like he's clearly quite capable of a lot of things. He's got this kind of like air of like clumsy, like because he can deal with stuff. Like when things start to kick off in the action, and he needs to defend himself, like he's all right at it. But he kind of does it in this weird, like nonchalant, clumsy, almost like everything's an accident while he's managing to survive.
Yeah. He's right. I think this is like a very, very specific era of like Johnny Depp characters, right? Like he feels like this was a period, around this era and Edward Scissorhands type of time where this was kind of the character he played, like the slightly spooky gothic type character that's quite gentle and quite nice. This was before his archetype was the Captain Jack Sparrow one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and without getting into too much of it as well, obviously Johnny Depp has had a rough few years. I think myself included, it was almost off-putting if he was innocent for a while because his reputation had been quite sullied. And obviously now we're all quite sorry about this as things start to come to light. But I think it was nice with all that stuff coming back into the news and everything right now to watch one of his classic performances. I'd say underrated performances in this one because it's very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I think he's a real folk, obviously as the lead. But something about his performance, considering how many other big names there are surrounding him, many of the like laughs or like the real interesting and entertaining moments came from him. And he's not over the top in it at all. He's kind of got a very understated performance, but I did really enjoy it. Okay. So when he arrives in Sleepy Hollow, immediately goes to like Baltus Van Tassel's, was it like the town hall or something? Or
like the
the
town hall or the pub where they're all hanging out.
Yeah.
But the Christina Ricci's character is playing like I'm saying it in the way that you say you hate people say it. Apparently that's how I say it. I just like, she's playing like a game where she's pretending to be a witch that might give people a kiss if she catches you, and she catches hold of Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane is walking through the bar and says, "Oh, who is this I found here? Do you want I'll give you a little kiss for good luck." And even though he has not solicited this kiss, her boyfriend, Johnny Rico, immediately hates him. He's like, "What's your business here, stranger, you son of a bitch?" And he's
That's exactly the kind of thing that would happen to me, I feel like. If I was walking through a pub and someone's playing a game of like, oh, whoever I grab, I'm going to kiss. But it'll be like a load of drunk women at a hen do, and I'd be stone cold sober. And all I needed, and I'm dying for a pee as well. I imagine this is exactly the kind of thing that would happen.
You'd get caught, and then the person looking on would be like the biggest, meanest looking guy in town, who you're then going to have to work with.
Kiss my missus, dude. Bang! Yeah. It's a bit going. So so he takes a dislike to poor old Ichabod. He gets a dislike taken to him pretty much immediately, and everyone's like, "Oh, you must be that bloody police constable who's come to look for the horseman." And then does he immediately go and meet like basically
so the council, Mr. Van Tassel welcomes him and said, "Oh no, you'll stay with us. We're really happy you're here." And doesn't like the maid say while she's setting him up in his bedroom, like, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. Things have been absolute bollocks. What all these murders?" So he's ushered straight away to meet the council. This is where we get like literally like a who's who of these like characters. This is when we see the Emperor and Henry Crabbe and the dad from Beetlejuice, and these are all major characters in the community, right? They're like the town elders. So it's like there's like a justice of the peace, and it's the Reverend and the Doctor, and so these are all like major characters in this small kind of rural community, right?
Yeah. And obviously pretty much from the get-go, and obviously we do understand why, is everybody just believes it's a supernatural thing. Nobody thinks that somebody's responsible, because I think Ichabod does say we're going to find who's responsible, and they kind of go like, we know who's responsible. It's
the Horseman,
the Hessian. So when they say the Hessian, that is just like a soldier, right?
I didn't know if the Hessian was meant to be a soldier, or whether it was meant to be like he was from a particular,
Yeah, like
group.
I thought whether it was a rank or something, but I think they say he's a mercenary. Um, so yeah, they pretty much then explain.
They call him a Hessian mercenary, and obviously when I think Hessian, I
Okay,
just think of like the
Hessian
Sax.
sack. He just says, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, there you go. Hessians were German soldiers who served as auxiliaries in the British Army. So they were like German mercenaries that joined the British Army during the War of Independence, I guess,
Yeah,
and may or may not have had something to do with Sax. But what we do learn from this little
yeah,
flashback we get now is that, yeah, he was a rough old character, but you know what? He did love his horse.
yeah, yeah. He loved his horse.
When
Yeah, that's
his horse got a bit injured, and the horse comes back. Spoilers. But like he gives it a little stroke and is like, "You take it easy here. I'm running." And then this is when he gets stitched up by kids. He sort of hushes them, but then they snap the
yeah,
branch anyway, and he gets murked by the soldiers.
yeah. The soldiers. Well, he puts up a good fight. I think he chops off a couple of limbs. Even takes a head or two off, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he's dead
Um,
good.
but then they stab him, and he's down on all fours, and he gets beheaded. Uh, and they dig a nice little grave for him. How long ago was this supposed to happen? So the
See, this
American
is the thing that gets
Revolutionary
me.
War.
I made a note of it. So we see he's chopped off and then he's buried, and then his horse comes back and sort of mourns at his grave. So this horse loved him too. And then they said at the end, like, oh, he's been buried in these woods for like 20 years. So it's kind of shocking, isn't it? That like you feel like these things and these ghost stories are ancient history, but actually,
Yeah.
in the setting of the story, this was like, oh, it wasn't that long ago.
Year 2000. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that guy, he was killed in the year 2000. Was he?
I was
What's
like,
he
yeah,
doing? What's he doing as a ghost then?
yeah.
Yeah.
This ghost, he died listening to his Millennium CD, and now whenever you play it, it comes back. It's like that's a modern thing.
Yeah, it's weird. It is weird. It doesn't age. Yeah, I kind of thought, oh, it must be a few hundred years before, and this legend's been around for all that time, but no. But yeah, obviously Ichabod is skeptical, to say the least. He's a bit like, well, there's obviously got to be an explanation. It can't be that. He kind of thinks small town, small community. Obviously, there's various myths and legends that they've all been enamored by, and yeah, so he says he's going to get to the bottom of it by doing
So
some
I'm
proper police detective work.
gonna solve this, and then someone else is killed. So he rushes out to investigate. He shows off his like this is like a little section where he shows off his scientific methods, right?
Yeah.
This is where he explains that the blade is hot, which is why the wound has been cauterized.
Mhm.
It's like a messenger or someone that gets chopped off, and we learn about his son in a little bit. But one of like the workers of or servants of one of the major players in town is killed in the night by the horseman as he rides along.
Yeah.
And Johnny Depp does his Ichabod does his like investigations. He like pours some chemicals on the ground because there's a chemical reaction that shows that there was blood. I'm watching what chemical reaction? Like it shows that it was chopped off in one clean blow, and I was like, how? What is this?
How did you know that? Do
But
you not think that
yeah,
some people in Sleepy Hollow might just leave? Because I kept thinking this. Like, if everyone genuinely believes the Headless Horseman is doing this, and this has already been like, how many people? 5 or 6? I thought there'd be like a mass. Everyone would be like, right, see you later. Especially like the richer folk. You'd be like, let's get the hell out of here. Jesus.
we'll just not go out. But that
Yeah.
doesn't help. That later on he comes a knocking, doesn't he? But
He comes a knocking. Yeah, he's just like a door-to-door salesman. Just if you pretend you're not in, hiding behind the sofa or whatever, he'll just kick the door in.
well, you know he's got a head. He can't peek through the curtains, can he?
That's
Looking
true.
at the little glass bit by your door.
I was gonna say, how does he see? But I suppose as a ghost,
Magic.
he's it's just magic.
Yeah.
It's just a load of magic.
Just ghostly magic. But yeah, so we then go to a funeral for the the messenger who's been killed.
Mhm.
And his son is there. Yeah, his son sort of comes and offers his services to Ichabod Crane, and at first he's like, "Ah, no, no, you're right, kid. I've got nothing I can't look after a kid. Go and look after your mom. And just, oh, she's also dead, and he feels
Yeah.
he feels a bit bad for him. So he kind of takes him on after he has sort of second thoughts as he stands there, and
Yeah.
immediately says, right, the first order of business is for you to meet me in the morning, so we're going to exhume some bodies.
Yeah. I mean, this kid, to be fair, he's pretty badass. He can handle
Yeah.
himself. He's good with a gun, despite the fact that the reload time on all these muskets is ridiculous.
20 minutes. Yeah.
20 minutes.
He's a really capable little kid, and he puts he puts things together, and he's a very loyal, immediately little assistant. And actually, let's be clear here, especially in the era this film was made, child characters in films sometimes quite annoying, but he isn't. He's great.
No, he's good. He's a very sane. I was about to say his head screwed on. He's got his head screwed.
Yes.
He's got his head screwed on. I'll tell you. Let's talk about the tagline for this film. Is "Heads will roll," which is simple, effective. I like it. It's good.
It's great. It's a good tag and accurate as well. Does what it says on the tin.
Exactly.
So
it's not.
This is where he gets the clue, though, Ben. This is where he gets the clue from Henry Crabbe Pie in the Sky. Now, then, you are not a professional detective, I understand. But for me, I wrote in my notes here, baby, obvious clue is obvious. When Henry Crabbe gives him a cryptic clue and he's like, there are 3 graves, but there are 4 murders that were committed. 4 bodies, 3 graves, and then walks away. Yeah. And then Ichabod Crane goes and has to do. As soon as someone says 4 bodies, 3 graves, and he examines all of them. And I go, okay, one of them is a woman. She must have been pregnant. I am not claiming to be Sherlock Holmes, Ben. I'm just saying. Yeah. Got it straight away. Obvious clue. But Ichabod goes and investigates, and he uncovers through a gory autopsy scene. He steps out into the street with all the outraged villagers coated in blood, having done this autopsy, and announces that one of the previous victims of the Horseman, a widow, was expecting a baby, and he immediately leeches onto this as like as a motive.
Yeah.
And the town's a bit up in arms because obviously this is him showing off his methods. But then night falls and we get one of our first confrontation spooky scenes, right? So first we see Ichabod going through a covered bridge. It's like a covered bridge, and it sounds like the frogs in the pond are saying "get to fuck." I'm sure they're meant to be saying something else. That's all I could hear. And then
get the fuck.
And then a headless horseman with a pumpkin head steps out in front of him and runs him out of town before executing. He basically runs Ichabod Crane down and has him banged to rights, trapped. But then he doesn't chop his head off. What he does is he whizzes a pumpkin at him. I don't think any human could throw a pumpkin like that. It's an incredible throw.
It's almost like what do you hold on to with a pumpkin like that? You're kind of like, unless he's made a few little holes in the back of it, like a bowling ball, and then he whizzes it. I just don't understand. I feel like it'd be awkward. You kind of be like, especially one-handed. I mean, that's kind of impressive. But obviously, rather than leave Ichabod to think Jesus Christ was that the horseman, he just runs off, like just round the corner pretty much, and him and his mates start laughing, and it was Brom Van Brunt.
Yeah, Johnny Rico himself, and they're having a jolly good laugh at his expense. And this is what I've noticed here. So he's had this encounter with what he thought was a ghost, and he faints after he's heard them laughing. So
just thinks the ghost.
Oh,
he just thinks the voices in his head.
He's like, oh no, I've been slightly embarrassed by these local bullies.
Local. I mean, is fainting supposed to be like a defense mechanism? What is it?
Okay, I think it's just the olden days, Ben. Like, people were a lot easier to make faint back then.
Yeah.
Because you get
no sugar in their blood.
you haven't seen no processed sugars, and I guess you didn't have TV and stuff, so you'd be more surprised by things.
Oh bloody hell! I've never seen that before. Faint.
Yeah,
Exactly. I do have some faint-based trivia for you at the end.
Oh, looking forward to it. Yeah, so he has a faint, and then he has the. This is when he has the first little bit of a. We have several kind of dream sequences, right? Where we see kind of his past, Ichabod as a child, with
his little Lloyd Christmas bowl haircut,
Lloyd Christmas hair, and his mom, who is like a bit witchy.
A little bit witchy, yeah. But she's like involved with. I'm assuming this guy isn't her dad, right? Is it her dad?
It's his dad.
Sorry, his dad. It is his dad.
Yeah, and he's the guy that plays like creepy bloke in tons of like British TV dramas.
So he's obviously he obviously doesn't want to be a witch. He's like, read this bloody Bible, that'll sort you out.
Get the Bible. It's a later flashback, I think. But this is it is here. Oh no, it's a faint later when, like, in this one we just see a drawing. What is a fairly innocuous like moon and stars the dust in the fireplace. But then later he sees it and he loses his mind. He's like,
witchcraft. Moon and bloody star, you're a witch. Have this Bible. Go on, read it. I don't want to read it.
There's going to be a test on it. It's going to be like, all right. Yeah.
There's going to be a test at the end, and the answer won't be moon and stars.
It'll be Jesus. Oh no, it might be Jesus, but you won't know until you read it. So get and read.
Exactly.
But that's more to come. We kind of see this built up on. I guess if we're talking critically, this was one of the points where I sort of thought to myself, was this necessary in the film? Do you think that the backstory that he...
It felt like it was only there to explain why he had the little scars on his hands, like the little dots. It felt like that was all it did, was explain that.
Had them,
What was that?
Just not had them.
Yeah. Exactly. That makes more sense. It did feel a bit bloated.
I guess if anything, you could say, like, he explains a bit later on that was when he lost his faith. So maybe that's to explain why he likes science.
Yeah. I mean, love science. He hates the moon and the stars because of that.
You could have just had a scene where he was at school and someone going, "Oh, today's a science lesson." He's like, "Oh, that's interesting."
All right. A what? Science. Okay.
Loads of like flashback dreams where he's like getting an A in science. Oh, you're dead good at this. You're
doing a chemical reaction based on a sword taking someone's head off in one clean swipe. Yeah. That's where he learned it. That's where he learned it.
This chemical reacts if it was one chop. Now, if the smoke is blue, that's 2 chops. Red, 3 chops. Yeah, could have been that, but it wasn't. It's this that kind of has the background. But he wakes well in the morning. He's been taken in and looked after. And this is where we get another little bit of kind of setup for the future as well, right? So in a discussion with Christina Ricci, she gives him a book.
Yeah.
Book that fits in your breast pocket and says will protect you from harm. And again, I didn't remember this film. I didn't remember all the details like you, Ben. I hadn't seen it for years, but I thought to myself, wonder if that bullet's going to stop a book. That stop a bullet at some point in the future. That one that book that fits in your breast pocket and says will protect. Also shows her the optics puzzle about the red cardinal. You know, the one that's in a cage, a bit like BioShock Infinite, when he's like, "This is the bird and this is the cage, and this is a."
Fascinated by it, though, Christina Ricci. Fascinated. She's like, "What the have you done that then?"
Careful she doesn't faint. That would have been
embarrassing, wouldn't it?
But this is another one of his like kind of detective points as well. And this is actually I making light of it, but this is one of those cool things that makes this a fun detective story because it gives you as a viewer all of these pieces, especially if you're saying this is partially aimed at a family or younger audience as well, you know, that's really getting into this type of story. it gives you the thing, you know, when he talks about how, okay, it isn't magic, this is optics, as in what you see isn't always what's real, which is, you know, which comes up a little bit later. It's all right. It's all right, you know. It's a nice bit. It's a nice bit of setup.
I like it. Is it next that Ichabod actually witnesses the horseman killing Pie in the Sky dude?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't remember exactly what are they. I think he's leaving, isn't he, Phillips?
Yeah,
he's ready to get out of there. Ichabod goes after him, says, well, "Where you going, mate? Don't mug me off."
Yeah, I know the truth. This is that you were covering up the fact that this person was pregnant. He says that as the justice of the peace, he was trying to give her and her baby the protection of the law. She came for advice, so he is now worried that he has to get out of town because he's worried that he knows too much and is going to be finished off. And
lo and behold,
he is in short order. He should come along, but the Headless Horseman himself.
The Headless Horseman. So this is obviously quite cool because it's quite a good reveal. The sheep start sort of running away. We get obviously the classic lightning, and then it's a very good shot where we see him emerge from the mist, Headless Horseman, but from quite far away. So we kind of see him coming right up into him, and Ichabod, as you'd expect, he doesn't react. One thing that usually in a film, if someone's tricked and then suddenly they see the real thing, it's almost like it's set up for them to be like, "Oh, come on, not this again." I know, but he doesn't. He reacts in pretty much the same way as you would from seeing that, because Phillips's head is taken clean off, and it's obviously quite funny as the severed head rolls down the hill towards Ichabod and lands between his legs.
And oh no, he does. It gets taken away, doesn't it? So it lands between his legs, and then the Headless Horseman stabs it up with his thing, and then after he's run away, then Ichabod faints, and this is where he has his second flashback dream about his dad telling his mum to get some Bible.
Get some Bible. Have some of this Bible in your ears, in your eyes. Sorry.
Read this. You won't draw no moons and stars.
What makes him then go to the Western Woods?
Well, at first he is.
He's shaken up.
He's really out of it. He is completely off his chops, and they've given up on him. He's had a brain fever for a couple of days.
Horseman. Headless.
Yeah. And so we know, mate. We've been telling you.
Telling you the whole time. He's like, yeah, but I believe you now. I've seen it. Yeah, we've been telling you the whole time.
And says, "Sorry, I'm better from being temporarily mad. I've decided I am going to pit myself against this ghost, and I will find out why he's doing these murders. So I do believe it's a ghost, but I believe there must be a real person who is pulling the strings. Yeah, and I'm going to find out what it is."
It's quite crazy how quickly he goes from, like, usually in a movie when someone's whole belief system is completely upended, in terms of their character arc, it might then take them a while to get back on the straight and narrow, but it's pretty instant. He's like, right, okay, I'm on board with this. I've seen it with my own eyes. But maybe that's as a character, he is the kind of person who believes what is kind of there in front of him as physical evidence. So he's seen a ghost, and he's like, surreal. Yep, goes surreal. There we go. He goes to the Western Woods just with Masbuff, isn't it his name?
Yeah, young Masbuff.
Yeah, young Masbuff. He's the only one. Obviously, he does ask for other people to volunteer, and they don't. And as they're walking through the creepy woods, they go to just a cave, and
it's literally a cave with a woman saying "woo," because as they find it because there's someone going,
what's that? It says here in the Wikipedia thing, a crone, an old woman who may be disagreeable, malicious, or sinister in manner. Essentially, she's a witch, though, right?
Yeah, she's a witch, but she seems really helpful.
Yeah, terrifying but helpful.
And she decides to do a little bit of a magic to get possessed, so she can give him a clue. This is where we get the eye pop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Because she's got her hair is brushed back because her hair or a veil normally covers this witch's face, and then when she does a bit of a jump scare and lunges forward at him, she has big empty eye sockets, and her eyes come out on stalks, like as if a Looney Tunes cartoon just saw like something spooky.
She chains herself down before she gets possessed.
Yeah,
by
so she can't reach whoever it is.
She pretty much reaches him now.
It's because he leans forward like an idiot. He's like,
yeah, he's like, hello. Lean forward and goes to touch her as well. Like if you saw someone chaining himself up, I think you'd maybe kind of know that potentially what was going to happen next.
She chains herself up and then does a test that she can't reach him.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Amazing. So basically he gets the information from her. She basically says the horseman's grave is at the Tree of the Dead, which is like, what, 5 minutes away? I don't know. It doesn't seem very far, does it?
Literally over the road, yeah.
And then they see like the flash of somebody on horseback just ahead. Ichabod goes on to try and see who it is, and he's basically ready to pop a cap in whoever's ass it is. But it's Katrina who's come after him, and she's gone.
No one else
wanted to. So I did. So I did the right thing, which was wait until you'd already left and then come after you and somehow get ahead of you and then scare the living shite out of you. Very helpful, Katrina.
And then they have a little moment, but it's interrupted by young Nasmith, who's like, found the Tree of the Dead, it was just over here. And he chops into it.
Oh yeah.
He gets all bloody. Thankfully, most of his clothes are black rather than white, because otherwise that is not coming out. He chops into the tree, which is bleeding, full of blood. And in the tree finds all the heads that have been gathered so far by the Headless Horseman.
Yeah. So pretty much every severed head. I think the first one we see is like pie in the sky, dude. The latest one, obviously, whoever the latest head was there, goes right at the bottom of the pile.
Yep. He arranges them like that. Maybe it's like you've got a spreadsheet, you can sort it however he wants, and he sorted it by oldest to newest.
Are you giving me a spreadsheet analogy, Andy? That's not like you at all.
No, not like me at all. But yeah, that's how he does it. He's just an organised Hessian.
He's just an organised Hessian, exactly.
You might be able to filter them by the types of person they were, men and women. Sort it out. Yeah, but then they're interrupted in their investigation where like a portal opens in the tree, and who should come out but the Headless Horseman's horse? And like they find his grave, they find his body, and then the body itself doesn't move, right? The roots of the tree kind of touch it, and then a ghost of him comes out of the tree. Like it manifests in a body from the tree.
Yeah.
But off he goes, and not only is the Headless Horseman back, but his horse also must have some sort of unfinished business, because that can also come back from the afterlife.
Yeah. The horse's unfinished business is the fact that his bloody Hessian died, and he couldn't find anyone else to kind of take his place, so...
It's a bit unfair that the horse has gone to hell, though.
Yeah, it's a bit unfair. But maybe it's just a bad horse, we don't know. Yeah. We would kicked a child or something like that. What if that happens? You get reunited with your pets when you go to hell or heaven.
Imagine if you and your pets had opposite moral alignments, though. It'd be sad. That'd be the saddest part.
Oh yeah.
Like if you've had a really good life and you get to heaven, but your dog had actually been mean, so there he was. Oh, he's not here. But either way, the horseman goes off and he is rushing into town to get someone else, and Ichabod goes after them in an attempt to try and warn whoever it is. We don't know who it is at this point. But the town is being guarded by some young men of the town, Rico's Roughnecks. They're there. They're guarding. They're actually watching over the city, right? But we find the horseman arrives at. We've seen these characters a couple of times and just had incidental bits. It's the midwife of the town and her husband and their little boy. They're just having a nice evening in. I've had a little game of Connect 4. The kid is like...
But the kid's been cheating again, so they're like, oh, get yourself to bed early. He's got one of those things in his room, which is a nice little spinny nightlight thing.
Put on a candle, and it puts nice pictures, like dragons and stuff on the wall.
That's pretty terrifying. There's like a witch, something.
Ghidorah. Yeah, there's a lot. But their pleasant evening is interrupted when who should come knocking at the door? Then the Headless Horseman, and
Bloody
he's
horseman.
straight in, and he's changed it up this time. He hasn't got his sword; he's got some axes.
Yeah. Why has he changed it up? Was he just like bored of the swords?
Yeah,
Or he just
maybe
upgraded just upgraded his melee weapon, and he's like,
yeah,
gonna
maybe he's just
use this.
maybe he's not been using these ones, and he thinks he's going to try and upgrade this one a bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he's
that makes sense.
he's going through, and the midwife's husband tries to protect her, but he is pretty swiftly chopped. Gets his
He does all
ass head
right.
off.
I think everyone who kind of wants to go one-on-one with the horseman does all right for a bit, but just that
He's
supernatural ghost power just
he's no match for him.
overwhelms.
He gets his head chopped off. The midwife herself manages to hide their son in the under the
Yep.
floorboards, but then she gets her head chopped off, and we get quite an effective part, don't we? Where we see we don't see this woman get her head chopped off, but she's just kneeling down, and then we see from the perspective of the little boy under the house looking up, and you see like his mom's. You hear like the thump, and you see his mom's face looking down at him, and obviously she's had her
Right.
head chopped off. And then he almost leaves, but then he does find the little boy. He grabs him.
He grabs the little boy, and I'm assuming does cut his head off, right? Because he's shoving something into a bag as he's leaving.
Oh, I didn't see that. I must have looked away because I have a question as to what happened with the little boy. Because
Yeah. So he's picking up the boy, and then it cuts away, and then we see him leaving. He's shoving something in a bag, so we assume it's another head.
oh, I've just made a little note here. What did he do with the kid? Toss him into the sun? But he didn't. He just he
had his head off, mate. He had his head off. He's like, what? Kill him in another way other than decapitating him. Not interested.
Not in. But
this when so as he's leaving. Sorry, you go on.
Yeah, this is you're right, Ben. So as he's leaving, Ichabod and let's say his real name is Grom.
Is Brom Van Brunt. Yeah, Brom Van Brunt.
They confront the Headless Horseman. Well, Brom fights him first.
Yeah.
And he's holding his own, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing really well.
Even though it's not a sword, just a gun.
So initially, it's like the Headless Horseman kind of just knocks them down and walks away. But I think he just gets a bit irked at some point. He's like, right, no, that's it. I am gonna kill you. Because it looks like I'm only going for specific victims. I'm not after you, so I'm not going to do it. And he knocks him down, tries to walk away, but as soon as Ichabod gets involved as well, 2-on-1 action. Just Horseman's had enough. He's like, right, he's getting it now.
He stabs Ichabod and tears Brom in half.
He does like a sort of slices him in half with the double axe action. But yeah, Ichabod, he kind of stabs and lifts him over, doesn't he? Which is pretty brutal.
Gives the bayonet flip.
Yeah, but luckily the blade doesn't seem to go in that deep, because after that Ichabod wakes up and he's pretty much all right. He just has a few stitches. Is it stitches? I guess.
No, he's been magicked better. He doesn't have any stitches.
Yeah, magic. But yeah, so then he has worked out that the Horseman only murders specific victims, and that those he killed are all linked by some kind of conspiracy. And then he does quite a lot of detective work here, where he works out that the first victim had married this widow and written a new will that left his estate to her and unborn child, and obviously they got killed. So someone in somewhere is after the estate or after something, and he basically works out that all of the victims except Brom are either beneficiaries or witnesses to the will.
Yeah.
And decides that the Horseman's master must be Baltus, and he writes it down in his book with lovely cursive. All evidence points to Baltus?
Yeah, all evidence points to Baltus, which is no good because he's the master of the town, if you like, and Christina Ricci is very sad that she's pointed to her dad as the criminal, and she protests that it can't be him because if she knew him, if Ichabod knew him, then he would know that he wasn't capable of it. And at this point, a lot of the townspeople have kind of lost faith in Ichabod as well, right? Because all these additional killings have happened.
Yeah, I guess like they kind of thought he was going to be the answer to it, but if anything, they've spiraled out of control since he's been there. Bloody hell, Ichabod.
Yeah.
So Katrina, not long after that, burns the evidence, doesn't she? She burns the accusation essentially after discovering it.
She burns the evidence, and then we have this huge confrontation. We have this huge confrontation in the church, right, where all of the things that have come about have been all kind of come to a head. So Emperor Palpatine gets clubbed on the head by Dad from Home Alone because he doesn't want the truth to come out, and then
Dad from Beetlejuice.
Dad from Beetlejuice, not Dad from Home Alone.
I was confused for a second there.
And then obviously he is in turn shot by Boltus, who is then.
Well, just before Boltus obviously sees the horseman coming up on. We've actually missed one particular bit, which is the fact that Ichabod witnessed Mary Van Tassel, Miranda Richardson, getting it on with what's his name, the dad from Beetlejuice.
Dad from Beetlejuice,
And she cuts her hand, and the next morning she sort of almost teasing Ichabod says, "You haven't asked me how my hand is," for whatever reason. And then we kind of think maybe she's involved, but then obviously it's a bit of a red herring, because then we see the horseman coming up on her when she's gathering some plants for her hand.
Oh, and that's right. So
Boltus bolts before.
Yeah, that's why he got his name.
He doesn't stay around to help her. He runs to the church and says that she's been killed.
Yeah. And the horseman, it appears, can't come into the church, I guess, because ghosts hate church.
Ghosts hate churches. He throws his axe into the church grounds as well, and it melts. So he needs to find another way of doing it. And he's pretty good.
Resourceful.
He's very, very resourceful. So he's unable to enter.
So while things probably remembers while he's been in hell, he's probably visited and met popular Mortal Kombat character Scorpion, and he's taught him a trick.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, while it's all kicking off, Boltus sort of goes up into this sort of like a platform or something right by the window. Horseman grabs some rope, gets a fence post, spiky fence post, and basically flings it in, harpoons him, drags him out across the church grounds all the way to the fence, and then slices it off his head. And everybody basically sees it. Katrina faints, another faint. And then we see a large diagram drawn on the church floor, which is the same as the one that was drawn underneath
Ichabod's
bed. So yeah, at this point, he basically just thinks it was her, doesn't he? He basically just gets to the point where he just assumes it's her via some sort of witchcraft.
And she was cursing him with the evil eye. So we jump to the next morning. He says to young Nazareth, "You can never say that it was her. There's no proof, so even though I think it's her, but I'm just going to go. I can't investigate this anymore. I've gone back and I've failed." And he gets in the coach and starts to head back to New York. And much like any commuter, he goes to get some entertainment out. So he gets his $17.99 equivalent of his DS out for while he's on the thing. He gets out his little optical illusion twister. And
I mean, how much
gives him an idea.
That really give you?
Hours.
I reckon 4 seconds, and I'd be like, I'm sick of this shit.
Yeah, it's like
sick of it.
Cage, bird, both together.
Both together. What's gonna happen next?
It's that one that says, surely the pleasure of that is showing it to other people and amazing them by it. It hasn't really got that much mileage for you yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it that sort of kind of makes him go back now? He realizes.
Well, he does by playing with his DS. He realizes that what I said earlier about optics and what you see might not be what it is. So he turns the coach around and heads back, but unfortunately, he's not in time. he doesn't get there in time because our heroes, young Nazbeth and Christina Ricci, are captured by the evil stepmother who was behind it all along. She wasn't dead. The person whose head was chopped off was actually a servant.
The servant girl, and obviously Ichabod works this out. He goes to the morgue, sees her hand. This cut was made after the person was dead, but when we see Miranda Richardson killing the servant girl and making the cut, she makes the cut like immediately. Like, would that affect things too much? Probably not, but yeah, we like to believe that. And then we do get a classic bad guy explains their entire plan because they think they've won. So while I explain my entire plan.
Yeah, so basically her family used to be there, and they were in one of the ruined houses in the town, used to be their home. They were left penniless after the parents died of disease or something like that. The family that have been behind everything didn't help them, basically. So she's fucked off. And she was one of the two kids. Her and her sister, one of the two kids that snapped the branch.
That was a bit I couldn't remember. That was a bit that was new information to me. I'd forgotten that bit completely.
I'd forgotten that was them. And her sister was the witch in the woods.
Yeah.
Of course.
She's killed her. She's gone chopped her head off as I don't really know why. I guess to cover her tracks.
Because old witches are notoriously great witnesses.
yeah, exactly. So basically she explains absolutely everything, how she got into the household, the Van Tassel household, and how she drew everybody else into the plot, and the fact that she's been using the horsemen to eliminate all the heirs and witnesses. And there we go. And then she does her final summoning, which is to summon the horsemen
to get these guys.
Katrina. I just kept thinking, how did she summon the horsemen to like not kill her? Come and pretend to kill me, but only so my husband runs away, and then
I don't know. You think like maybe she's just getting better at summoning him. I think if I could summon the Headless Horseman, you'd have good intentions, but eventually you'd start to abuse it, wouldn't you? Like if you had the Headless Horseman's skull in your cupboard,
it'd be going to get my shopping every week.
It'd be like, right, my click and collect period Headless Horseman is between 2 and 3. You must be there. And they'd be off collecting it up. But this time he's come to collect the head of Katrina. So he's on the way, but Ichabod Crane arrives in time, and we have quite an extended action set piece here, which I guess we don't need to go beat for beat. It begins with blowing up a windmill, and then there's a huge woodland chase on a carriage. I feel this is the point. This has a bit of Scream energy to it, where this time, if this was Scream, this would be a time that Matthew Lillard is in the costume, because the Headless Horseman goes undefeatable warrior to Ichabod Crane Tom and Jerry's bag. Beats him with his bag, and then he chops he cuts the carriage loose, and then he crashes in the carriage, and then the carriage flips over and lands on him. Yeah. Obviously he's invincible, so he can't be killed, but he is. Yeah. They have a big fight, and we come down to the final scene. For some reason, the evil stepmom is somehow where they are, miles into the woods immediately. She shoots Ichabod Crane in the breast pocket.
That was almost like she knew.
Yeah, it's almost like. Oh, and by the way, that magic spell, Ben, that evil eye thing, he saw it in the book that was actually a very similar symbol, which is for protection. So she was a nice witch all along. But Ichabod Crane is not dead. And then my little note here. Evil stepmom hoisted by her own petard. If you think about it, Ben, she got rid of the horseman, the Hessian, by snapping that twig, and then just when she thinks she's won, what's happened? Young Nazbeth fucking hammers her with a twig, a big stick.
A big old stick.
He
She's
wallops her
KO'd.
with a twig.
Ichabod throws the horseman's skull back to him, and then obviously we get him a classic CGI thing where he disappears off of the screen for a second and then appears, and he's got a few more sinewy bits on his head.
And this is another eye pop as well, isn't it? We get some eyes appearing.
Yeah. I mean, it looked good until the eye pop. And obviously, talk about Christopher Walken's hair as well, like his shock of black hair, which is pretty amazing. Kind of completes the look. And obviously his sharp teeth. And then he picks up Lady Van Tassel. She kind of wakes up. She wakes up as if she's what's going on? I didn't hear my alarm.
Yeah. Like if you get concussed, it's a bit like just forced to go to sleep. You wake up like, oh.
Yeah.
Fresh, but he bites her face.
He kind of gives her a kiss bite, doesn't he? Like kisses her, but he's got sharp teeth, so he's just a bit of a bitey guy, you know.
She'd have had to have kissed him back to get a tongue bitten though, because you can't put her teeth into his mouth.
Maybe it was her lips. Who knows?
Yeah. Either way,
give me your tongue. I don't want to. Give me your tongue.
But he bites her, and then they chip off to hell. He doesn't seem too bothered about it.
No. He's just like, yeah, see you later. That was fun. I enjoyed killing a lot of new people. He strikes me as the kind of guy who probably enjoyed the lopping of the heads. He's not going to be like, you used me.
Do you reckon because he's a bad bloke that in hell, rather than being punished, he's like a bit of a celebrity and he actually, he's got a bit of status there and he's all right?
I reckon so. Definitely. And his horse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. At the end, Ichabod returns to New York. Nice, snowy, with Katrina and young Maspath. We understand it's a new century. It's just everybody's been celebrating New Year.
Just time for a new century, right? Yeah.
Just time for a new century, and I thought, New York looks lovely. It looks very. I was like, Gangs of New York's going to kick off soon now, so you better get yourself ready.
Yeah.
Whenever that was.
You can detect,
another 100 years.
You can detect that though, so that's fine. You can use his detective work. What I did think of though, when they arrive in New York, I was like, so. Has he gone to New York with his new girlfriend and a servant boy they've acquired, or have they adopted him as a son now?
Or is he the son? I reckon it'll start off as like he's the son, and after a while they'll be like, make us a cup of tea. Drive the carriage. You do this, and after a while, just like, yeah, you're just a servant boy. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh shit! I forgot. I didn't adopt you as a kid. I've taken you on as a member of staff.
Yeah. You what? I didn't sign anything. Well, no, that's it.
My house, my rules. Ichabod Crane.
I do have some trivia, Andy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fancy a little bit of that?
Obviously, some time for a little spot of trivia.
Taking on Luke's usual role of finding the old trivia, but so okay. Johnny Depp adopted the horse that played Gunpowder. There was a horse called Gunpowder in that, but I guess that was his horse.
Yeah, it's to the main horse.
Oh yeah, Ichabod Crane's horse in the movie. When he heard it's going to be put down. But what was its name? And I can give you a hint if you have no idea.
I have no idea.
Named after a Pierce Brosnan Bond movie.
The horse's name is... It must be Goldeneye. It's not going to be Tomorrow Never Dies.
No, it's The World Is Not Enough. No, It is Goldeneye. It is Goldeneye. So, Johnny Depp initially found the idea of Christina Ricci being his love interest in the movie to be odd, but why?
Did they grow up together or something like that? Did they know each other as children?
Yeah, pretty much. He's known her since she was 9 years old. So he's like, this is weird. I've known you since you were 9 years old. Bloody hell. And she's gone, yeah, now kiss me. I don't want to.
I always find it weird that she had blonde hair in it and not, because I'm just so used to. For me, Christina Ricci is Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. So this movie was shot almost entirely with a blue filter. So for the blood to appear red, the liquid used had to be what color?
Oh,
this is quite difficult. Sorry about this.
Purple.
Bright orange.
Bright orange. Oh, it's the other way. Okay.
The other way, yeah.
It's not filtering out blue, it's putting blue. It's putting extra blue.
I mean, that was pretty hard. I don't think I would have got that. How many times does Ichabod Crane faint during this movie?
3 times if you're counting with the time he was stabbed as a feint and not a pass out.
Well, it says 5 here, so the stab must be counted as well. Might need to rewatch it.
Do they count when he goes to bed the first night as fainting? Just happens to faint
something. No, I'm just trying to go to sleep. That's fainted.
Fainted.
And in comparison, Katrina, how many times does she faint?
Oh, she faints twice.
Yes, she faints twice. And the last one is in the novel or the short story, Ichabod Crane's not a policeman. What is he?
I don't remember. If he's not a policeman, is he the witch hunter general?
No. It's someone that you wouldn't sort of expect to ever be involved in finding a headless horseman and bringing him to justice. Candlestick maker. No, he's a school teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well done. You got most of them right. You can have all of them. Have all the points.
Yes.
There we go. Tables have turned. So I guess all that we got to do now is rate the movie.
Oh, and it's a shame that Luke isn't here to do this as well. Maybe we'll message him and get his rating so we can have it for prosperity. I liked this more than I think I remember doing. Like I said, there's a couple of bits that are a bit shaky. The CGI on eye work is weird, but I enjoyed this. And I think it's a nice Sunday matinee horror movie. I think I will not leave it so long before I watch this again. So I'm going to give this a B.
Oh, big bad B. B for Baltus.
Baltus.
I think one of the characters. Baltus. Yeah, I've got a lot of love for this film. Every time I've seen it, I've always enjoyed it. And I am a Tim Burton fan, but as I said before, this might be one of my favorites that he's done. Something about it, just something about the vibes of it, and just the atmosphere. It's a soundtrack that I kind of listen to a lot as well. It's one of those I kind of think, oh, Danny Elfman. Listen to the Spider-Man soundtrack, and then I always go, oh yeah, and he did Sleepy Hollow as well. No, obviously he's done lots of other Tim Burton stuff.
You can't go wrong with Danny Elfman. It's a very
cannot go wrong.
Certain aesthetic. It's one of those people who you can recognize his music instantly.
Yeah. I think this film kind of captures the creepy ambience. It's a good sort of mystery movie, gothic horror as well. And just the fact that the cast is full of so many heavyweights, it really feels big time. So for that, I'm going to go a bit harder than you. I'm going to go for an A.
Oh, very nice. Oh. You know what? Well deserved. I think this one for me might end up growing over time. But I think right now, with history and today, I think it's good. It's like it.
It's good. It's definitely one I'll always go back to. So for that reason, it gets quite a high rating from me. And as I said before, like always loved it sort of growing up as well. So for that reason, there we go. That is it. Next week, we are going to be talking about The Brood, possibly of Luke. He might be back, but we've got a special guest, Matthew BC, as well. He's going to talk about a film that he made. Nice. That came out fairly recently called Medusa, so we're going to chat about that. It should be fun. Some nice David Cronenberg. We haven't done a David Cronenberg movie on the podcast for a little while, I think. Can't remember what the last one was.
Since The Fly, right? It's not been...
Maybe since The Fly, yeah. Can't think of anything else we've done. We did Nightbreed, which obviously he's in as an actor rather than a director, but yeah, there we go. Okay, so thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/Walken Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Cowman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating and a review, and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors and join us there to chat about everything. Thanks to my co-host Andy for being a right horror dude and for stepping in as I was going to say Luke's replacement, but you know.
No, we're not. It's the opposite. Yeah. Thanks for having me, as always, Ben. It's always a pleasure to join you.
And thanks very much for
miss
holding
you,
my
Luke.
hand through the main hosting duties, because it was new territory for me,
You
especially
did.
even that outro. But yeah, we miss you, Luke.
It's great.
See you soon.
Bye.
Okay, dude. See you later.
Bye.
Bye bye now.